Hello, fellow mysticists. Today's card will be the Wheel of Fortune. Uh, Heads up if you are hearing dogs barking or movement in the background because it's a really crazy day and I'm baby sitting or dog sitting at that time. So, okay, let's see. So, before the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, the medieval depictions, and in this case the Renaissance one, often showed the goddess Fortuna's wheel with a blindfolded man, sometimes a woman. Uh, it really depends on how they try to illustrate this card, but it was like a wheel with a blindfolded man or Fortuna actually blindfolded. So, uh, and other times it was a sphinx symbolizing the mysteries of the world and the turn of fortune. So in this case you will see the goddess Fortuna with, well, at the bottom of the wheel is an old man. He's literally being crushed by this wheel. Someone is falling down, someone is rising, and you can see in this golden laurel that he's victorious, and this one with the other golden laurel and literally sitting on a throne here, so you don't see this sudden movement. It's really slow, which is also about the passing of time. So it might be a child, a successful man, older man, and actually being elderly. So I think the top is Francesco-Sforza in this case, and I don't know why they are always, I don't know, showing or drawing him as this really young person. He literally looks like a kid on every picture, even on his marriage ones, except when he was drawn on the emperor card because he was older when this card was commissioned, and when it was finished he was in his 40s. So I don't know, they might have been focusing on his youthful energies, or that he's still young and still has many things to do, or he's in his prime time actually. So but you can see that the goddess is here, which is really interesting because, well, this might be the sign of the times literally, because you cannot see ancient goddesses on medieval, I don't know, pictures or paintings, because of course it was not just forbidden, it was not custom to paint goddesses. But when the Renaissance started and when it was ongoing, they turned back to the ancient Roman and Greek times. So this might be that this is like an angel and Fortuna's mix on this picture. So you can really see how people at the time was thinking, and I really admire that. Okay, let's see where this Rider-Waite-Smith is. Now this is something else. So I think that I have mentioned several times before that the Freemason groups and the Rider-Waite-Smith group or gang within them really wanted to cut ties with the church. So they were mixing religious symbolism. So there were several symbolism in the previous cards as well about biblical events or symbols, or you can just get hints of the Bible, but it was always about being something. It was like a wink at the people who were religious but on their own way. So they were completely out of the church as an institution, but they were still willing to believe in the Christian God, and they were willing to add some ancient. Just let's just say that. So it's fake ancient or actual ancient knowledge and mythology to the mix. So it was a very very weird mixture of Christianity, Egyptian mythology, and either if they were there were several cards with Arthurian legends, because don't forget this was about this was mostly happening in Victorian England. They had the basis from 16th, 17th century France, and they had sometimes to Renaissance Italy and some medieval German stuff, but mostly this deck is literally the way a Victorian man was thinking if he was in an esoteric group. So it's not ancient; it's pretty modern in a sense, and this is just a mess. And what I was trying to say that in the previous cards, when they were trying to reference biblical verses or something like that, it wasn't like it wasn't about, let's just say, the main actors in the Bible. So there were angels, but they were not. There might have been angels, but not archangels, or there was no indication of Jesus anywhere, or God literally. But in this, so okay, it's just as this tarot deck and tarot decks in general are a mess when it comes to the esoteric views. I'm blabbering, so sorry for that. So I was just trying to say that if you remember back in the Magician card, you had indications of the Song of Songs. On the High Priestess card, you had the pillars of the Temple of Solomon, and these were well known facts, but these are not the things that the Bible is mainly focusing on. So they were just winks at almost Easter eggs of the Bible, and this one here, this one is the most biblical one in the deck. So we have seen references to the Bible and ancient mythology on the other cards too previously, but never this straightforward. So we can see the symbols of the four evangelists, also symbolizing the four elements with four fixed astrological signs, and the symbols are like, I don't know, everything is connected here. This is the most holistic card of the deck, I think. So the symbols of the four evangelists are like, so there's Matthew here, who is often symbolized by a winged man or an angel, and this is also the symbol here of the, I don't know, I think is, okay, let me let me rephrase it. So let's just go all the way. So this is Matthew as the angel. There's Mark with the winged lion down here. You see Luke with the winged ox or bull sometimes, and you can see John here as the eagle. And you can see that these are also Leo, Taurus, Aquarius, Scorpio, fixed signs of fire, water, air, and earth. And also these animals and symbols are also the kings of these species. So you can see that the angel is, or the winged man is like a king. This can also be Solomon in a way. The eagle is the king of birds, the lion is the king of predatory animals, and the ox or the bull is the king of domesticated animals. So you also have several symbols of Egyptian and ancient Greek mythology as well. So you can see this is Anubis rising from the bottom of the wheel. And this, I think, this is Typhon, the son of Hera, going down with it. So, and there's literally this Sphinx with the sword. So there's just so much thing, and also the letters. I haven't even started with the letters. So this is biblical and astrological, and astrology in general is also in its Western design. So I had several researches trying to find any ancient connection to the astrology or the system of astrology that we are using today. I don't know, it always seemed, given that there are fixed signs and there are 4 elements and 12 houses, and I was trying to find other cultures where these were similar, but there are significant differences, or this kind of astrology is not even existing there. So this is pretty Western, and this is another case where Victorian people were desperately trying to connect the way they are thinking to ancient mythology. But if we want some, I don't know, pre-existing condition where this was true, where most of our things that we are considering spiritual in today's era, it's pretty much comes from ancient Greek philosophy and Roman philosophy and mythology. And then there was as Christianity was expanding through the continent, Christianity is a very adapting type of religion. So they were willing to integrate pagan symbolism and pagan celebrations to their culture, and this was a way to get Christianity accepted among the newly converted folks. So that's why when we arrive at or to the Victorian era, this is completely a mess. So we are after the French Revolution. There's this segregation and secularity between the church and the state, and you see that people, as the British Empire was expanding, they were trying to also integrate that knowledge into their universe, and this is how this tarot deck was literally born. So you had this magical thinking of the medieval times, this bunch of mythology from Egypt, Greece, Rome, or the Roman Empire, and Anglo-Saxon mythology and folk tales, and yeah, it was a mess, and they were trying to make a system out of it, so it can be holistic, it can make sense, because at that time nothing was making sense. So these people often, or almost exclusively rich people, rich men especially, were gathering into these Freemason groups, and it was a really nice idea to create hubs where you can have intellectual debates, and you can get some view into other ways of thinking other than the church and the state, and it was pretty exciting. And of course they were also open to the occult, because it is exciting. This is something new. Magic was coming back to the world. So The last time magic was accepted or was considered very real was medieval times in Europe. So after that, as science was having a boom, and the scientific work was coming forward, it was pushing back the religious, it was pushing back the spiritual, and this was an attempt to make a balance between that. So they couldn't deny science anymore, and science wasn't forbidden, but the magic was gone for a while, and they were trying to bring some magic back to the world. And it was a mess. It was completely baseless most of the time. But if we are considering how tarot can be useful and how tarot is used in today's world, I think that this is significant to understand that this was an attempt to make sense of the world at the time. And also, when I was starting to know tarot, of course, I was a pretty young teenage girl, and it was exciting. It was magical. I really saw that okay, there must be uh, tools to know the future, to make sense of all this, because life was chaos, and I really wanted to not just to know a way out of it. It was like literally I just wanted to see the light at the end of the tunnel. So of course I was starting to use it as a divinatory tool, but as time was passing and I had more life experience, I see it now more like, I don't know, a prelude to psychology. So when we go through these cards, it's really like going through archetypes, and it's not an accident that Jung specifically, when he was started to work with archetypes in psychology and psychotherapy, it you can see the connections to the tarot. Not because tarot is, I wouldn't like to say because it's not real, because tarot is a very good tool if you want to know the past and the present and would like to get a glimpse of the consequences of this past and this present and some options that you can have. But this is definitely not uh, first and foremost for divination. It is more about if you use it that way, it can be more about self-knowledge than divination. Okay, let's go. I was rambling a lot about this. So, the letters. Okay, so these are Hebrew letters mixed with Latin, and the way you can just turn it is this tarot or rota, which is the Latin word for turning. It can mean tarot, yes, Torah, rota, and the Hebrew letters spell out Hashem, and this card truly shows Waite's way of thinking about how the system of magic works according to him. So this is a combination of uh, the way the Brotherhood of the Golden Dawn was watching magic and it was trying to I know, map and examine the other world and the mystical. Okay, with Wade's interpretation, this card was favorable even in reverse, but the earlier card simply showed the turning of the wheel, which could go either way. So you can see that way that the people are riding this wheel, several of them are falling down, and there are also cards that show a man broken in the wheel, referencing this medieval descendants. So these decks are oftentimes can be found in French decks, or I think that I remember seeing that literally breaking under the wheel in French decks. So now let's see how other cards are depicting this. That in this Lunalapin I think the only change here, other than this is a very cute card, and all the animals and symbols in the corners are reading. So this is about knowledge. See this angel, this is very cute. And Anubis here is a rabbit as well, which is interesting. But I see no other differences here. This is a very cute card otherwise. But the symbolism is exactly the same here. Okay, let's see. Prisma Tarot is always bringing something else to the table. Okay, so the Wheel of Fortune. Here, two snakes are fighting with two peacocks. The snakes are intertwined. The peacocks are not that much, but yes, this is more about chances. So anything could happen in this situation. The snakes are intertwined. The peacocks seem to move more in sync, but they are fairly far apart from each other. So, and this red snake is biting itself, if you can see it. The other one is attacking the peacock, but another peacock is sneaking up behind them. So this is the point of the situation where anything could happen. It can go anyway, literally. So this Wheel of Fortune is not about a good outcome or a bad outcome. It's just signifying that at this point of the reading, anything can happen. Anything can happen. So it's very, I don't know, it's not making a stand on either side. Okay, let's see the animal deck, which is a scarab with bird wings. So the Egyptian symbolism is pretty much here. The Hebrew and Latin letters are gone, and the alchemical symbolisms as well. But you can get the general sense that scarabs were considered little helpers on the land of the dead, or in the land of the dead in Egyptian mythology. So they were considered that they are animals that can resurrect themselves, so they can come back from the dead, which was coming from the way they were laying down their eggs. So these insects are gathering literally a huge ball of shit to make a fertile ground for the eggs. They are laying their eggs down. I think they die in that and use the carcass as well. I'm not sure about it, but Egyptians believe that they see this animal gathering a ball and then dying, and after that little bugs are coming from that ball as well. So they saw it as resurrection. And in this case, this card indicates that literally anything can happen, but there's always life and there's always death. So it's an eternal turning of life. Yeah. Let's see, Mugi. The symbolism remains the same. I really love the angel is cute. The eagle is very cute. The mouse is cute. Anubis is like, hi, I'm rising. Yay, it's my time. Okay, the bull is reading. Oh my god. The lion is reading as well. It's so cute. They were not? Oh, they were. Oh, yes. Okay. My bad. They were reading as well on the original one. So this is about knowledge as well. Can it be a symbolism for the Akashic records? Because I don't know when it came into the system. So of course I should look this up. I'm just thinking about it because it's the same with the spiritual movements as well. That it was like with tarot back in the time, that there was this huge boom of spiritual awakening in the 80s. I think it was the 80s, yeah. And people were literally moving to India, and yoga was getting popular in the Western world, especially in the US, and decades was spent thinking that all this thing like yoga and especially chakras and meditations are ancient Indian and Hindu and Buddhist and whatever practices, but there are elements of truth here. But the yoga that you are usually learn here in the Western world, and chakras and energy centers within the body, or in the energetic field of the body, has more connection to ancient Greek philosophy and ancient Greek I'd say body sculpting practices, because they literally believe that if you have a healthy body, you have a healthy mind. It was a very significant teaching back in the day. So PE was literally a thing in ancient Greece, and for the aristocrats, of course. So so it's like this: the Akashic records can come from India. It can be considered ancient, but I would bet that the way we think about it is that there's a record of everything. Sorry, my camera just shut down, so I had to recharge it, and in the meantime, I had the opportunity to check on the Akashic records, and I was right, actually. So the word itself comes from Sanskrit, but the concept of it comes from the same era when tarot was actually practiced in its early stages, and the concept of these Akashic records are actually had much more common with theosophy, which is theological philosophy, in a very occult way. So if you come across with books written by, for example, Helena Blavatsky, that's exactly that. So it has roots in theosophy, quantum physics, in a way that in that time physics and quantum physics was really getting popular in some circles. So well, if I want to pinpoint that in time, it's like the early 19th century, so the first 3 decades when Einstein was active, and you just get the concept that physics was expanding, science was expanding, and they were trying to integrate these theories into their magical belief system. So the Akashic Records has much more in common with quantum physics, theosophy, and actually this Calvinist concept of predetermination, that your every moment and your whole life is written and decided the moment you are born. So that's it. So the Akashic Records is a Western concept, and I think it's maybe in the Philippines or Thailand. It's somewhere in that area that there's actually a temple, or they claim that there's a temple where the same concept is going around, that you pay money for the monks and they check their libraries because everyone's life is written in a scroll or on a leaf or something like that. But so this is the same concept, but the Akashic records, and if these are references to the Akashic records, then this is a Western concept on itself. Okay, I think I've missed the Egyptian one. I'm trying to check any new symbolism. I'm trying to see what is happening here because the place where Anubis was rising, I don't think this is Anubis, but the Sphinx here is using its spear. So the sword or the spear is not just sitting there passively, but it's actually stabbing someone from rising. So this is a pretty interesting Wheel of Fortune in this case, because it's like I was signaling that the game is rigged. So fortune is not blind in this case. And I think that this is not Typhoon either. This is Sobek, but maybe because he's the only crocodile god I know about. But if this is Sobek, then he isn't allowed to rise if Anubis is falling down. So Sobek itself is a crocodile god. He had a really big worship center in the whole Fayum area, and he was seen not just nurturing, because Sobek was considered a very fierce and very protective god of people who were deserving, but the healing part was coming from, and the nurturing part was coming from the concept that he was the one who helped to heal Osiris when his body parts was thrown into the Nile, and he was worshipped after that as a nurturer and healer as well. And also there were versions of his myths that he was a concept of Ra itself. So he was Sobek Ra, who is emerging from the primal waters of the lake and heals the world. Or there are many versions of this, but if this is Sobek, and I think Sobek's name is still debated, but I think one version of it is the impregnator. So if he is connected to the Nile, because Sobek is a Nile crocodile, then the Nile as this nurturer and impregnator of the land of Egypt, then this is where it could come from. But this is interesting because this really says that the game is rigged, and that this protective god cannot rise unless Anubis falls. Let's say that this one is Anubis. Okay, let's see. If I was talking about this story, I really lost count where I was really going with this. But this Anima Mundi card is just a perfect balance between, I don't know. So this one is just the perfect balance between life and death. So this is the turning of time, the turning of the wheel. This isn't really about fortune as in the meaning of luck. This is more about the concept of life and death. So you can see that these are plants growing and there's a decaying skeleton here. Okay, and see the last for this first part. So this is the oak, ash and thorn, and the wheel of fortune here is a spider web. So the spider is a symbol of wisdom and a weaver which can be tied to the concept of the fates, so who are spinning the yarn of human life. This can be connected to them. And you can see that every type of animals are gathering around and trying to see maybe the future, what will happen to them. But I really like the concept that there's this little field mouse here, which is held by this owl, and you cannot really decide whether this is a partnership where the owl is trying to get a better view of what's happening here, or this is actually a prey. So in this case, everyone is really chill about this situation, and especially there's a snake here as well. But you see that these letters are for the directions, and these are the Torah, Tarot, Rota, and so on version. I feel more like excitement about depicting what is happening and unfolding the knowledge behind this than actual danger and this prey and hunter type of energy. Okay, so if you are a minor, you know the drill. This is the part where the first portion of the video ends, and after that we will check some 18 plus decks. So thank you for being here, and if you are an adult and still here, let's move on for the last cards. Okay, so this is the Vampire Tarot, which I think, well, this is an interesting concept because these are like, I don't know, the way this picture is posed, it's there's some sort of, I don't know, it's Hindu posing here, but it's not. I think these are the fates as well, or the crowns maybe. So there are triple goddesses almost in, or in very numerous cultures where there's these three concepts of womanhood, three in one altogether. So this can be Hecate, the goddess of witches and crossroads and magic. This can be the fate. This can be the crowns. This can be in Celtic mythology. One of the archetypes is Morrigan, and she is a war goddess, goddess of magic, and so on. So this is like maiden, mother, crown. But the fates are also triple goddesses, and they are weaving the fates of others. So it's some sort of triple goddess, and this is also about predetermination in a way. That they are deciding your fate, or you can earn their favor to turn the wheel for you. But I don't see anything else here. Okay, let's see something else. Start with Decameron. Well, you get the wheel concept. Okay, should I say 69? Nice. Okay, this, well, you get in the center, there's this 69 situation with the turning of the wheel, so it's giving and receiving at the same time. I cannot get the concept of these people watching, so this is a weird situation, but almost every card in this deck is a weird situation. This is almost like some ritualistic feeling to this. Well, they are quite content here, so they are in the circle, so they are not, so they are the center of the action, literally. And in this case, it feels that they are the outsiders, so they are who are in the center of this. They don't care about the turning of the wheel. They are really occupied with each other. And these are the ones who are actually worried about what's coming out of this. So it's like this is the universal concept that there's creation and giving and receiving all together. And these are the very concept people who are trying to find what will happen to them. Or they are waiting for the turning of the wheel. I don't know. This might be some swinger situation, so they are waiting their turn. I don't know. Nice. And this one, Wheel of Fortune with 3 women as well, so the triple goddess concept is still here. I don't see the maiden mother crown, but maybe this might be the maiden. This one seems a bit older, so this might be a mother, and this might be, I wouldn't say a crown. It's not even a MILF, but her hair has some gray in it. So, but we are turning the wheel on. I don't know. Is it the well? Maybe. So water can flow and water can help this garden grow. Or this can be the fountain of youth as well. Yeah, this is interesting. Okay, this was for today. I think it was pretty long. I tried to edit some of it because I had like 3 stops during this. And see you at the next time. Bye.